okay? And what they're advocating for, under their terms, they would say that it's anti-woke. It's not. And why are we doing them the favor of giving them the PR win of using the terms that they want? What they're doing is advocating for segregation in films, okay? It is very clear. You can be in a film if you're white. You can be in a film if you're male. If you're willing to be a sex object, you can be a woman. You just can't star in the movie. And if you're not, if you're gay or if you're a woman or if you're black or whatever, you don't get to be in our movies. You certainly don't get to star in our movies. And there was a term for that sort of societal separation. It's segregation. That is what's being advocated for. Now, I get that he's a billionaire, so we're supposed to pretend that he's above things like that. But understand the intellectual movement he's a part of. It's people like Ben Shapiro, people like Charlie Kirk. These are segregationists trying to set up a pop culture that is just for people like them, and everyone else need not apply. They pretend to have some sort of profit-seeking motive in this, but as we've already demonstrated, they are willing to segregate pop culture, even if it means companies will lose potentially billions of dollars in doing so. They're willing to set fire to a fortune to make sure that only white males ever star in movies like this. Anyway, we'll see if he succeeds in getting on the board. The world sucks, so he probably has a pretty good chance. In any event, that's all the time we have for the show today. I want to thank everyone who's been watching live. I appreciate you staying tuned in during this big election year, and in particular during my solo shows. They're a little bit harder, but I like doing them and I appreciate you watching them. Tomorrow, Sharon Reed will be here, so definitely stay tuned for that. Until then, though, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and I'll see you soon.
Welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Richey. Good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day, none other than the incomparable Sharon Reed, host, commentator, TYT Sports contributor, all-star. Always fascinated to have her analysis. Top story of the day, hell of a thing. New poll indicates Biden may actually win swing states. There's some nuances here and a caveat. So let's put up the picture full mass. Donald Trump has been boasting that he is leading in all swing states. As a matter of fact, he always provides more context. He says he's dominating. He's winning by a landslide, et cetera, et cetera. Well, there's a new poll that shows his numbers are not only slipping, but Biden has made up ground and leads in some of these swing states. So President Joe Biden is gaining on former President Donald Trump in key swing states, according to the new Bloomberg and Morning Consult poll. In previous iterations, this same survey that Republicans highlighted showed a measure of support and preference in Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Trump continues to boast he's leading in every state. Now, I want to say this because I saw some pushback on the article about Georgia being a swing state. You cannot deny Georgia its swing state status. You can't do it. Georgia delivered 2 Democratic U.S. senators. Yes, by the slimmest of margins, but it was done. Biden won the state of Georgia. A Democrat, slimmest of margins, but it was done. It would be insane for the DNC to treat Georgia as they always have, like an option. They have to be part of the battleground strategy in order to secure the presidency for Biden. Now, according to a March poll, this is interesting. Biden has drawn even with Trump in Michigan, 45 to 45%, Pennsylvania, 45 to 45%, and has pulled ahead of Trump in Wisconsin, 46 to 45%. In February, the Bloomberg and Morning Consult had found that Trump was up 6 points in Pennsylvania, and Trump was up 4 points in Wisconsin, and he was up 2 points in Michigan. Now, this poll in particular has an error rate of 2 to 5%, depending on the state. Now, when they did this poll last month, it had the same error rate, but Donald Trump was polling above the rate of potential error. In this poll, Biden is not. He is not polling above the potential error rate, which simply means if you have 2 numbers and they're within that 2 to 5 point differential, you might as well neutralize the poll. They are statistically tied. There's a margin of interpretation, obviously, but the margin of error betrays the poll itself. So the interpretation is this: a poll is not a prediction, it is a snapshot. Clearly, individuals who answered in the previous polling sets had a different idea about the potential presidency of Trump. And we don't see Biden merging, we see Trump going in the opposite direction. So it's not as if Biden is doing something new and refreshing in order to excite moderates, independents, et cetera. Look at the crosstabs of data. So Trump did not retain leads in all of the other key states. He leads by 5 in Arizona. He did retain leads in these states. He leads by 5 in Arizona. He still leads well outside of the margin of error in Georgia for now, 2 in Nevada, and 6 in North Carolina, 1 point outside of the margin of error. which I would call an exacting lead, assuming that the rest of the state level results from 2020 replicated themselves in 2024, given these results today, and applying this data to the relevant states on the electoral college map, because that's the only thing that counts constitutionally, Biden would prevail in 2024 if he won all 3 of the states he tied or beat Trump in, but only with 270 electoral college votes, which means Trump would have 268. If Trump pulled back ahead in any single one of the 3 states, however, he would retake the White House. Trump performed worse in every single state except for Georgia. I think some of that has to do with now Kemp, the governor who was at odds with Trump, deciding to endorse Donald Trump. He's still very popular among Republicans in the state. Trump performed worse in every single state except Georgia in March as compared to February. In the Peach State, his margin of victory increased by a single point, +6 to +7. But he previously led by 6 in Arizona, Nevada, and Pennsylvania, 9 in North Carolina, and 4 in Wisconsin. The poll had margins of error from 3 to 5 points, depending on those states. Some of this is obviously self-inflicted by bad policies and ideology from the Republican Party. Now, given how horrific their policies actually are, Biden should be running away with this election. And the sentiment is shared in their conservative leaders. When I debated Victoria Churchill, and she was talking about the response from the State of the Union, the senator out of Alabama, and how it was choreographed and seemed, well, just fictional. She defended the message and talked about a kitchen table. Here it is.
I think that Senator Britt's message was a lot better than what we heard from Joe Biden. Joe Biden.
What was her message?
To me, the message is that we need to focus on American families that are hurting in this time. And that's not what Joe Biden talked about. Joe Biden talked about a vindictive political agenda, and that's what he's going to take into his second term, versus what Senator Britt talked about was, she was literally sitting at a kitchen table. She wants to talk about kitchen table issues. She wants to talk about food prices growing up.
What about the people that don't have kitchen tables, madam? What about folks that don't have a kitchen table?
Well, I don't think Joe Biden was speaking to them either.
No, I'm talking about the senator.
Yes.
What about people who do not have a kitchen table?
Then they need to work more and get one, because still they can achieve the American dream. I personally have worked 3 or 4 jobs for the majority of my life.
That part. You see, she's not an outlier in the Republican field. She's not some fringe leader inside of the conservative movement. She's right there in the mainstream of the ideology. They need to work more and get one. All right, Sharon, thoughts here.
She has me so rattled. Okay, yeah. Another white woman entitled, like you're the only one that's working 3 jobs. It might be a luxury to even be granted employment in 3 different places at this point, okay? She couldn't really answer your kitchen table question there because she's clueless. That said, I do believe that Kemp's endorsement in Georgia is a problem. But I still, Dr. Richie, wonder if he'll do the heavy lift and appear alongside this unpredictable guy. Yeah. I was gonna call him something else, but we're just the beginning of the show. I'll call him a guy. And I think you're right about Joe Biden. Given all of the nonsense that the other side has laid at our feet, ripping away abortion, IVF, all kinds of nonsense, shrinkflation, run amok, and all the judgments, that he already owes in the criminal and civil cases. It is tough to understand why you are so barely breaking even here, if we're to believe those polls and not believe that the other guy's moonwalking backwards.
That's right. That's right. Very well said. And I want to remind people, yes, polls are not predictions, but they are people. Remember, people responded and their response was recorded. All right. So at the end of a poll is a person. Okay. Damn, Diddy properties raided. Feds have accused the mogul of human trafficking, all right? So let's put up the picture full mass. When the lawsuit came out, the first one, and I read what Cassie claimed happened, I said very clearly then, these allegations are egregiously criminal. And even though the lawsuit was settled, thus the actual suit dismissed, it is a sworn statement. It is an affidavit. Somebody swore and attested that Sean Diddy Combs engaged in such activity, which I said then, at some point, it is going to warrant an investigation. Officials raided 2 of Sean Combs' homes on Monday, a law enforcement source confirmed to Rolling Stone, as part of a federal sex trafficking investigation led by Homeland Security. The raid was carried out just 4 months after his ex-girlfriend and ex-employee, singer Cassie, accused Combs of sex trafficking. Helicopters and agents were seen swarming the residence in Los Angeles. This is the LA mansion. This was Monday afternoon. Footage of the scene appeared to show some men, later identified as Combs' sons, Justin and King, detained and waiting outside of the Holmby Hills house. Officials were also present at the Miami residence at the same time. No Diddy, all right? Combs was in Florida at the time of the raid, according to NBC News, and officials reportedly seized his phones before the Bad Boy Records executive was scheduled to leave for a trip to the Caribbean. Sources with direct knowledge tell TMZ Diddy was with his family when Homeland Security agents rolled up on them. And while there was certainly some questioning going on, we're told nobody was arrested, including Diddy, and TMZ's sources tell them his movements are currently not restricted either, all right? Now, I will say this. So his movements are not restricted because they have him under surveillance, all right? So I'm pretty sure his attorney has informed him of that by now. A source tells Rolling Stone 4 Jane Does and 1 John Doe already set for interviews with the Southern District of New York investigators for a probe related to alleged sex trafficking, domestic violence, and racketeering. More interviews are scheduled, the source says. Douglas Wigdor, who represents Cassie Ventura and a Jane Doe accuser, says in a statement provided to Rolling Stone, quote, "We will always support law enforcement when it seeks to prosecute those who have violated the law. Hopefully, this is the beginning of a process that will hold Mr. Combs responsible for his depraved conduct," end quote. Now, beginning in November 2023, 5 people have accused Sean Diddy Combs of sexual assault and similar allegations. Combs' former girlfriend, Cassandra, known as Cassie, first filed a lawsuit against him for allegations of sexual assault, sex trafficking, and domestic violence. That was settled in record time. The day after her filing, they reached a settlement. Later that month, another woman who has since revealed herself as Lisa Gardner alleged that Combs and singer-songwriter Aaron Hall took turns sexually assaulting her and a friend in New York. This was more than 30 years ago. This was according to a document obtained by People. The following day, he was accused of sexual assault by a third woman, Joy Dickerson Neal, in a lawsuit filed in New York, the New York County Supreme Court. The next month, a 4th person accused Combs of sexual assault, also accusing him of sex trafficking and gang assaults as well. The 5th plaintiff, Rodney Lil Rod Jones, filed a lawsuit in New York federal court on the 27th of February. The former producer and videographer for Combs alleged that for more than a year, Combs sexually harassed, drugged, and threatened him. He is seeking $30 million in damages. It is not clear whether HSI's search is related to any of the allegations raised in the civil lawsuits filed in the past 4 months against Combs. I cannot imagine it is not connected somehow. And we will see exactly how this permeates. But I will say this, my goodness, the allegations, the lack of defense. I mean, typically, a person like Diddy would have so many individuals coming out saying, oh, I went to Diddy's parties. Nothing like that ever happened. It's radio silence. And we know the people who went to the damn parties because they posted it online. And nobody is saying none of these things happened. That to me, it's a nuance, yes. But that to me means something, all right? And if he did these things alleged on the in the lawsuit, justice is coming. Especially the women that he has scorned, if this is true. These things were horrific. Sharon, it was really tough to read some of the content for this stuff because it is so degrading to other human beings. But what say you?
Well, I say we must read it, particularly those online who are commenting about a Black man who's under fire by the man. There's an inside conversation that Black people have, and then there's the outside one, okay? And when Black women and men, in this case, allege this kind of abuse, depraved treatment, as the lawyer put it, it's a problem, okay? He has a problem, and I think you're right about the circumstantial evidence of nobody speaking up. And according to 50 Cent, Jay-Z, who he placed on a milk carton and said was missing, is not picking up the phone for Diddy either. This will not end well.
Wow. All right, updates will come as the story develops. Well, how can I say this? So there's a guy, he calls himself a pastor, a man of God. He has 10 wives. He's been lying to everybody. Put it up full mass. This individual posed as a pastor. He would specifically target Black churches and Black women. Orlando Coleman, this is according to the allegation, a man accused of serial bigamy in Houston, who posed as a pastor. Sometimes he would pose as a bishop, gave himself a promotion. He would go to small Black churches around the country. He has now been sentenced to 3 years in prison after it was found that he, in fact, had at least 10 wives whom he married for financial gain. Now, that's the part. It was a manipulation from day one. So Vanessa Goosen, an assistant district attorney in Harris County, Texas, who prosecuted the 51-year-old Orlando Coleman, told the New York Times that investigators believe his first marriage in 2001, in 2001, he traveled to states including Delaware, Texas, Kentucky, Nebraska, Pennsylvania, Iowa, North Carolina, Virginia, and others to find his victims after that, okay? Now, I'm going to give everyone a bit of information. Put up the picture full mass. Okay, you see the open face gold tooth? Those of you who are unaware of what this means, please understand the open face gold tooth sitting on the side and you're smiling on the side is the international I want to be a sugar daddy symbol. Now, this is the manipulation because he would create a fantasy world and then financially benefit himself over time, all right? Now, he would pay bills, et cetera, at times as well. In an interview with KPRC2, this was December 2021, one of the victims, who did not want to be identified, understandably so, said even though they never consummated their marriage, their relationship blossomed quickly. She said she got married within a month because she thought, quote, thought he was a real man of God, end quote. Quote, I just thought he was a real man of God. That's how he portrayed himself, she told KPRC2. The marriage, however, did not last. Quote, he always wanted me to buy him stuff, but I had bills, the woman said. noting that he also was not interested in sex with her. Quote, "We slept in separate rooms," she explained. Goosen, this is the DA prosecuting, told the New York Times that after Coleman falsely introduced himself as a Protestant pastor or sometimes a bishop to the women he would then propose marriage to support his claim to be a member of the clergy. Once the woman accepted his proposal, he would move in while the woman would be stuck paying for his housing, food, and all other bills. Quote, "That's the only thing he had to offer and to validate his word, the proposal to marriage. That was something big," the DA said. Getting proposed to was a big gesture for these women. And that corroborated his guise, that he's a godly person. Once again, all part of the manipulation. When Coleman left the women, some of them would file for divorce while others did not. The fake pastor scheme began falling apart in 2021 when he married 2 women 5 months apart. After he left a woman he married in Virginia, 2021, he married another one in Houston. According to the court documents, Coleman's wife in Houston discovered he was receiving money from the woman in Virginia and contacted the woman in Virginia. When she discovered they were both married to the same man, she contacted the Harris County Sheriff's Office, and they investigated and filed bigamy charges against Coleman. In July 2023, Coleman pleaded guilty to bigamy, which is a felony in Texas. He was sentenced to 3 years probation and the chance to have his record cleared at some point in the future. 2 months after that, however, he was back to his con. He married a woman in Kentucky while still married to the woman in Virginia. Prosecutors filed a motion to revoke Coleman's probation, and the judge agreed to impose a 3-year sentence on March 11th. An analysis of the Census Bureau data published last summer shows that Black Americans were least likely to have ever married by the time they are 40. Some 46% of Black 40-year-olds reported that they had never been married, compared to 27% of Hispanics, 20% of white Americans, 17% for Asians. All right. So there's this pattern, obviously, that this individual engaged in for a very long time. And if it had not been for Virginia and Houston, all right, the women in Virginia and Houston figured it out. There are some who have strong convictions about bigamy and marriage. That stuff, I could care less about that. I don't care what 2 consenting adults or 5 or 10 consenting adults do. It is his intent that is the highlight for me. He intended to engage in manipulation in order to financially benefit. But unfortunately, flexing ain't illegal. So his lies are not statutorily illegal. So they did get him on the bigamy because, well, it's not much more there. All of these things were done by agreement. All right, Sharon, thoughts here.
Well, he is a trash bucket. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you why. Those stats that you read make me very sad, and not just because I'm single, well under 40. I think he said 40% and women in their 40s, I'm about 33 or so. 32. But you got it, Doc. Birthday's coming up. Here's the thing. He preyed on these beautiful Black women who just wanted families and to do it the right way, the godly way. And that's why he's a trash bucket. He didn't prey on white women, and I wouldn't wish that on them. He said, my sisters, come here. The women in the image of his mother, come here and let me take you for what you got. Trash bucket.
Yep, 100%. And then he gets, convicted and does it again, right?
Yeah, and Doc, can I say this? Why would they give him an opportunity to clear his record? If ever there's a track record here, I don't know why you would do that, but okay, Texas.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, because basically, even though you're convicted of guy bigamy, you're really convicting him of fraud.
Yes.
But because it's not illegal to just lie to a human being and get agreement, well, they thought the fraud thing would have been flimsy. All right, so you're right. They should have never agreed to clear his record for something like that. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
You would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one. You're not going to be a dictator, are you? I said no, other than day one.
By locking up his enemies, by breaking all the rules, the courts, yeah, right. Them and what army?
This country needs a dictator. I hate to say that, but it's the truth.
It's the truth from the Young Turks. Americans saying they want a dictator.
I'd rather have Donald Trump as a dictator for 4 years. I'm going dictator Trump for sure.
How crazy will his supporters go?
I'm going to be a dictator for one day.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. Here at TYT, we understand this. That's why we're not gonna price gouge you or use inflation as an excuse to raise our prices. A TYT membership is not your typical subscription, but basic membership is still just $4.99. So what do you get for that price? For starters, you're getting exclusive programming, unique exclusive designs from Shop TYT, access to a members only chat, giveaways, emojis, and so many other amazing perks. But most importantly, you're helping to make an impact. As a TYT member, you not only help us do the shows every day, but you drive real positive change in the process. In 2017, we helped to start Justice Democrats right here on TYT. That's a group that got a dozen progressives elected into Congress. That's amazing, you did that. Your support also funds TYT's very own investigative reporting. Just recently, our reporters exposed the Fellowship Foundation and pressured lawmakers into boycotting that bigoted event. Isn't that amazing? We raised over $30,000 for Jackson, Mississippi and delivered clean water to thousands of people in need. Our petitions, polls, and community of activists help keep the corruption of Washington in check. That's the impact of what just $4.99 a month from our members can do. And we're just getting started. Positive change doesn't occur overnight, but with your contribution, we can make it happen together.
I got pulled in. They told me, hey, listen, Cenk, we're insiders. We are the establishment. People in Washington tell me that they're concerned about your tone. We think that there's a better role for you, and it's not in 6 o'clock. The problem with the mainstream media is they're desperate to get access. They don't challenge the government. They don't challenge power. We're supposed to challenge the government. That's the role of the media.
Components that corrupt our politicians, I think, also corrupt mainstream media. It's really difficult for cable outlets to talk about things like income inequality, wealth inequality, when the advertisers that are funding their shows are the same corporations that want to ensure that the same system continues. People watch digital media or new media, they get a completely different message. They focus on the issues that matter or resonate more with the constituency. We need to know one thing. Is the corporate media incompetent?
Corporate media, I can't hear you. Establishment press, where are you? I can't hear you. But the media's position I am clear on. Everything is pro-war, so everything is just framed that way. In this case, I mean, war is inevitable, right? I mean, the defense contractors should get a couple more $1 trillion. You ready for the stunning results? Only 6% of people say they have a great deal of confidence in the press. Wakey, wakey, okay? Progressives don't like the media either. You know why? It's the corporate media. Corporate media sounds like a conspiracy. Wait. Who owns you? Multi-billion-dollar corporations, public corporations. You have to do your corporate media because corporations own us. Yeah, that's how it works.
Join the Dragon Squad by becoming a YouTube channel member. Click the join button below or sign up on tyt.com/join to get access to fun emojis, a member-only chat, exclusive Shop TYT designs, ad-free watching, and so many other amazing perks. Plus, you get bragging rights for being part of the coolest community on the internet and help us drive real positive change in the world. The Dragon Squad awaits, so join today.
All right, welcome back. We have a lot of show left. Let me read some of these amazing comments. Mo Fury, as much as I want to see Trump lose, I fear that Democrats will use this poll as evidence that people want the same old ish. I hope not, but you're probably right. I mean, they really like confirmation bias. Democrats in leadership, in particular, corporate Democrats especially. I think we're wiser than that. Maybe they are not. Not, however. All right, Craig Souffle. And I agree. I actually mentioned this on my radio show this morning. So interesting, it only took months to bust Diddy, and it took years before Jeffrey Epstein got nailed for the same. Not to mention Matt Gaetz and Donald Trump. I can't imagine why. Yep. Two truths, both of those things are true. What Diddy has to be held accountable, obviously. These other cats have to be held accountable. And there is a difference in application of at least investigative prowess. All those things can be true at the same time. And I wish Dragon Wood said 10 wives targeting black women. I've never seen such bravery. That takes serious bravery or a death wish. Yeah, he was living reckless as hell. Tyler Hackner. Sucks that Dems are making it so close. They should change course so that their leads are bigger. That's right. Remember, the poll indicates there is nothing that Biden has done to excite people. All of this is because Trump has basically dismissed some of the base with his extreme behavior and rhetoric that continues. All right, Krista, I think this is Kongdong. That woman doesn't believe her own lies. Love, Sharon Reed. Thank you for your hard, unselfish work to bring us the truth. A bunch of hearts voting blue. Thank you so much for that. And Tyrone Hughes. Thank you, Tyrone. I got an indisputable mug, double dose tank top, and a signed copy of your new book for my birthday. Keep doing what you're doing. Happy birthday to you, and thank you for the support. All right, I hope you have a great one. And Twitch. A new poll, love 18 white girl. No one worked as many jobs as the Jamaican family from A Living Color. That's right. That's correct. All right, got something for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
You paid money by the government or anyone else to have these stickers there, Magella. I was with you the last time and you had them removed. Magella, you can call the guards all you want. I'll be gone before that happens. Right, Magella.
What's your problem? You don't like gay bar stickers?
No, absolutely I don't, because it's confusing to gay. It's confusing to children.
Yeah, man.
I have relations who are gay and I've no problem with gay people. But a gay spar is confusing to children. And I raise this with this. Get a life.
Get a life, mate.
Get a, what's your name?
David, man.
David what?
Get away from me.
Get away from you.
Yeah.
So why did you come on front of me and then you tell me to get away from you?
I think you're being pretty ridiculous.
Ridiculous what? Okay, great.
Okay, can you leave the shop?
I absolutely will leave the shop. Yeah, I will watch where I'm standing, no problem. But I think it's an absolute absurdity with all this LGBTQ TV blah, blah, blah. It's confusing to children. Nobody has a problem with gay people.
And don't spit on me, okay?
Nobody has a problem with gay people. Nobody. But when you have stickers outside saying it's a gay spar, I have a problem. And the vast majority of people in this country have a problem with that. And I'm going to be raising it with Magella, and she can call the guards all she wants and blah, blah, blah. I haven't... No, well, I'll tell you what, Magella, I haven't done a thing wrong. And actually, I will leave your store. And I don't have to leave your store, but...
I need you to stop calling Magella by her first name like y'all know each other. There's more.
I will. No, you're asking me, and okay, I will tone down my voice, Magella, because I've dealt with you several times before. But whatever monies you got for putting up them stickers, Magella, right, is confusing young children. That they think that they need to be gay to get into this shop. Shame on you. And I'll raise awareness to it, as well as these zebra crossings outside, LGBTQ, blah, 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 right? And I'll be back again and again and again until they're removed, Gardaí or not, right? Gardaí or not. They're confusing children. Nobody has a problem with gay people or from the lesbian, gay, bisexual thing. But if you're confusing children and making this shop out to be a gay spar, I have a problem with you.
So I got to say, no one looked confused in the establishment except yourself. Put up the picture full mass here. Hell of a story very interesting one. According to the TikTok name shown on the video allegedly comes from the TikTok account of Anto Boyle. The video is currently not present on the account. On the TikTok account, Boyle lists himself as a, quote, Dublin City-based activist doing his best in exposing the truth. Yeah. That's his contributions to society. All right, Sharon, the people who actually are not bothered by gay people, as he said, nobody is coming after gay people, are the people that are there to shop and not concerned about gay people like he is.
Yes, and if you have to proclaim over and over again, quote, nobody has a problem with gay people, you definitely have a problem with gay people. He's the town crier of hate. And the only thing, as you mentioned, that would confuse people is your mouth running constantly like with a bullhorn through the streets. Nobody wants you there, and don't call the woman by her first name.
That's
Step off.
Yeah, that was disrespectful.
Yes, it was.
All right, we have an indisputable exclusive. A pastor in Florida catches the police, according to him, racially profiling. Here it is.
Everybody, they just stopped me from to put the dogs around my car searching for drugs. Ocala Police Department. Tag everybody. I never had this kind of treatment before in all my life. This is a disgrace before God. Can I roll my windows down now? Who?
So, our canine dog hit, okay? So, literally on the vehicle for the odor of narcotics, all right? So, I'm gonna have you step out real quick and I'm gonna search the vehicle, okay?
So, you searching my car for what reason?
The dog alerted on the vehicle in the state of Florida.
The dog alert,
alerts on the
sir.
vehicle.
Okay, I'm gonna let you do what you gotta do.
I got you.
I'm gonna let you do it. Sir, I've been living 47 years of my life, and I've never done drugs before.
Okay, I'm not saying you do it or anything.
Yeah,
Just
that's
face
what
that way,
that's
okay?
what you finna pat. Hold on,
I'm gonna pat you down.
Let me ask you a
make sure you don't have any weapons.
No. So is this legal to do?
Yeah. Go stand back there.
Okay, I'll contact the attorney. Yeah, I'll contact an attorney. Because that's the only reason you stopped me, because you thought I had drugs.
There's more video. Now, you heard the pastor say his name is Terry Weems. I actually had a brief conversation with Pastor Weems yesterday. And he said the dog did not alert. Okay, he said it very clearly. Here's what happened next.
Stay over here.
No, hold on. If I'm not under arrest, I'm going to respect you.
All right, but you are detained, so you have to
I'm
stay.
detained?
Yes. You've been detained this whole time.
Why am I detained?
Because it's a traffic stop.
No, you don't. Okay. All right. Okay. What's your name? I'm Pastor Weems.
Officer Brinkley.
Your name is?
Brittle.
Officer Brittle. A local pastor in this city, and he's stopping my car for drugs. Just was leaving my mama church some hours ago right here on 3rd Street. Family stay right here. You found him yet? Because you ain't going to find nothing, so you're wasting your time. I don't put white man poison in my body. Never have and never will. I work with y'all and pray for y'all. Yes, you are, because you don't. I have never had a police to search my car for drugs. There's no probable cause to search and I didn't give consent. Let that be known. I didn't give consent for my car to be to be searched.
Okay. Well, you don't know the law, so.
My lawyer do.
Okay.
My lawyer do. Found anything?
No.
I know you
Take a
wasn't.
seat.
I know you wasn't.
And I'll finish up the rest of the stop. Just go ahead and.
I'll stand. I know you wasn't gonna find none, because I'm not a drug dealer.
Now, it is clear he's not trafficking anything. It is clear he has no narcotics in his vehicle. But he still gets a ticket. Here it is.
In this city,
Have you ever gave somebody a ride?
I don't normally give people a ride unless it's my wife. I normally don't. I normally don't.
So, just to let you know.
Nobody don't be in my car but my wife and my children. If I want to, I will. That's not against the law, is it? You had one too. No, I don't need your explanation. I know the law. You just mad because you didn't find no drugs on this black man. Yes, you is. You thought you was gonna take me to jail. You won't take this one to jail. Now go get them drug dealers out there. That's what you do. He want to call me a but he can't do it.
So I'm gonna explain the ticket, okay?
And you lied about that too.
30 days paying. Okay.
I'll contact my lawyer.
You can fight it. You can pay it.
I'm gonna fight it
Okay.
because you lied. Because I stopped at that stop.
See you in traffic.
You happy you didn't find no drugs?
Would you like me to explain the rest or no?
No, I have my lawyer to do
I'm
it.
leaving.
You need to leave. You should have never stopped me. I did stop. You just thought I had drugs and you mad I ain't got none. You mad I don't got no drugs, aren't you? You demon.
Wow. I mean, no, sir, we apologize. Or yeah, we actually are happy. You're one of the good guys. You're not a drug dealer. Put it up full mass. It was Sunday, March 17th, at around 7:45 that evening when Pastor Terry A. Weems Sr. began to go on Facebook Live. And if you heard him, he said, tag everybody. He had his whole damn congregation on Facebook Live, okay? This was a traffic stop by the Ocala Police Department in Florida. We did reach out to the pastor for a statement. We should have him on the program very soon. And I did have an off-record conversation with him as well to get more context and background. We have not secured that interview as of yet, but wait for it. It should come soon. We also contacted the chief of police, Mike Balkin, for more details on the traffic stop. They did not immediately respond to Indisputable's request. But Chief, this is not going to go away until there's a satisfactory conclusion here. So I'm encourage office to just go ahead and return our inquiry. All right, Sharon, hell of a thing. Pastor got it all recorded. Thoughts?
Well, and it means something a little extra. It's a little hard hitting when a pastor calls you a demon. He might know what he's talking
Right.
about. Okay, he talks to God every day. He's going to have to pray harder because these gangs are everywhere. These gangs all wearing the blue uniform, targeting Black people. They're everywhere, and we've got to eradicate them. We've got to get it under control. I found parts of the video anticlimactic, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I was looking for the part where they planted the drugs. Don't act shocked, right?
Yeah,
We know,
and it's happened
come on.
before. Right, it's happened
definitely
before.
has happened. So the pastor should go the distance. I look forward to seeing you together on this program, Dr. Ritchie. I'm disgusted by these gangs run amok.
Yeah, for sure. And still gave the man a ticket.
Dog
Saying he
didn't hit on it.
Right,
Stop
exactly.
it. Just sit down,
Right.
man. Come on.
All right. Well, women's basketball team moves hotels after facing racism. Is becoming a very common news story now. Put up the picture full mass. They should not have to go through this. Utah women's basketball coach Lynn Roberts said her team experienced a series of racial hate crimes last week after arriving at its first NCAA tournament hotel and was forced to change hotels for safety concerns. Roberts did not go into the detail about what happened, but said Monday there were several incidents that happened last Thursday night after the team arrived in Idaho, which is located about 30 miles from Spokane, Washington. And that the team was scheduled to play in the tournament's opening weekend. So you got KSL.com. They reported early Tuesday that the slur was actually the N-word, and it was yelled at members of the Utah basketball team, along with other members of the traveling party, including cheerleaders, the school board, multiple occasions as they were walking to and from a restaurant near their hotel. The Utah Deputy Athletic Director, Charmel Green, told KSL.com that the first incident occurred while the team was walking from the hotel to the restaurant. An unidentified person in a white truck revved the vehicle's engine near the team before yelling N-word in the team's direction and then, like a coward, speeding off. Quote, "We all just were in shock. And we looked at each other like, did we just hear that?" Everybody was in shock. Our cheerleaders, our students that were in that area that heard it clearly were just frozen, Green told KSL.com. Quote, "We kept walking, just shaking our heads like, I can't believe that." Green told KSL.com that a similar incident took place about 2 hours later as the team was leaving the restaurant. Green said 2 trucks parked near the team began revving their engines before people inside the vehicles again yelled the N-word in their direction. KSL.com reported that Utah filed a police report. Roberts, says the incidents were, quote, "shocking and incredibly upsetting for all of us," saying the team had not been exposed to racism very often because of the diversity on college campuses. Green told KSL.com that after the team safely returned to the hotel Thursday night, she got emotional and started to cry. All right, that's delayed trauma. Quote, "I will never forget the sound that I heard, the intimidation of the noise that came from that engine, and the N-word," Green said. "I go to bed and I hear it every night since I've been here," end quote. Roberts said the NCAA and Gonzaga worked to move the team from one hotel to another. South Dakota State and UC Irvine also were staying at hotels in Idaho. And even with the Gonzaga as the host school, because of a lack of hotel space in the area, Green said she contacted Utah AD, Mark Harlan, who had not yet made the trip to join the team after the incidents occurred Thursday night. So Harlan told KSL.com that the incident was disturbing and that the team should not have been in that area and it should not have happened. Far-right extremists have made a presence in the region. This was already well known. In 2018, at least 9 hate groups operated in that region. And so there's this pattern that should have been known. But sometimes I think we take for granted when we live in a diverse environment and individuals are not saying the N-word or racist things to your face. They just do things behind your back typically. All right, I really hate these women, young ladies went through this. And I think about my own daughter who's a freshman in college and a student athlete, and how I know it would just turn her world upside down to have something like that happen. So we are obviously encouraging the leadership to continue to be advocates for diversity, for inclusion, and for proper education. And do your absolute best to protect your students from things like that. If you knew, and I'm not saying this is the administration's fault, but if there's this history of extreme white nationalism in that one area, right there in that region, you may want to either inoculate the young people by way of education and conversation, or say, you know what, we're not even going to play that game. We'll be on the other side of the city. All right, Sharon, thoughts here.
I couldn't agree with you more. And unfortunately, your daughter, my daughter, we won't be able to inoculate them from this America. That said, what happened to them is not fair. I like that the coach responded effectively. And I think it's time for dramatic measures. It may not be fair, but this should be the course of action. Nobody stays there. Nobody gets to host a game there. The economy loses there until you, fair or not, eradicate this. Someone felt comfortable enough to, on multiple occasions, do this with the revving of the engine and the threatening. So I think it's time to have a zero tolerance policy. Why should it only be unfair to your daughter, my daughter, this basketball team? How about the people who live there? Weed them out.
What you just said is so genius, because you change policy when you make people get upset at the folk that create the dysfunction or the inconvenience. If you create a zero tolerance policy and other people start feeling this, right? The business community, et cetera, they will help you weed out the racist mofos that are among you in order to make sure their bottom line is not adversely affected. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable, stick and stay.
Every day, the Young Turks delivers 2 hours of solid, fact-based, timely news and progressive commentary on all the day's most important stories. We keep our viewers informed while also providing perspective and insight on the news we cover, so you understand not only what's happening, but also what's happening behind the scenes, the stories behind the stories.
We play musical chairs and put these children in one awful detention facility to the next. That's what's happening at the border.
The things that got him banned, he's still spreading. So presumably, I think it's reasonable to say that if you allow him back on the website, he's going to do it again.
Any legal voter that we deem not willing to vote for my side shouldn't vote because it'll replace me that's supposed to vote for my side. That's not how voting works. That's not how democracy works.
And while many people following today's political news can get discouraged about the direction of the nation and the world, that's not us. At TYT, we're genuinely optimistic about the future, and with good reason. Today, wide majorities of Americans agree with our progressive stances on issues ranging from healthcare and education to climate, immigration, and wages. The rising generation of young people are also overwhelmingly progressive in their political beliefs and policy objectives, and they're increasingly flexing their muscle as voters and activists to demand change from our elected officials. The traditional mainstream media is mostly AWOL. They, along with the government and many other cherished institutions, have been captured by corporate interests. Audiences sense that they're not getting the whole story or even the truth from once trusted outlets, whether broadcast and cable TV news networks or national newspapers and magazines. The antidote is the Young Turks. Unlike mainstream corporate outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to Big Pharma, and we don't carry water for the Republican or Democratic parties. So watch us Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and join the thousands of progressives around the globe who tune in every day for TYT's unmatched, award-winning content and see what it's like to experience a news organization that only answers to you.
I don't care if you're Christian. In fact, I will fight for you to have your religious liberty and practice your Christianity. I believe in that. I don't believe in Christianity, which means that you do not get to dictate the way I live my life based on your religion. I don't care what the Bible says. You have every right in the world. All those women who identify with your religion have every right in the world to not get an abortion, to not take birth control, but they do not have the right to dictate my life and what I decide to do with my body. I don't care about your goddamn religion. I'm so tired of having nonstop conversations about what the Bible says. You live your life in the way that you interpret the Bible. Again, I don't care, but you don't get to take the Bible and tell me, well, the Bible says this in this chapter, in this verse. I don't care. I don't care. I don't believe in it. And I have the right, based on our Constitution, to not believe in it.
Join the Dragon Squad by becoming a YouTube channel member. Click the join button below or sign up on tyt.com/join to get access to fun emojis, a member-only chat, exclusive shop TYT designs, ad-free watching, and so many other amazing perks. Plus, you get bragging rights for being part of the coolest community on the internet and help us drive real positive change in the world. The Dragon Squad awaits, so join today.
The media can't stop talking about gridlock in Washington, as if a handful of stubborn Republicans are the only thing standing between us and a fully functional democracy. The reality is that our government was taken over by big business and their allies in both political parties. And corporate media adds to the dysfunction. The good news is that the American people are progressive and soon will take over Washington. My book, Justice is Coming, is our battle plan for making that happen. You can get Justice is Coming wherever books and audiobooks.
All right, welcome back. We still have a lot of show left. Let me read some of these Amazing comments. Yeah. Lynn says the Florida pastor has the patience of a saint.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exclusive. All right. We have Alki Bulan, man. They're jealous because he drove a Benz. Back in the 1930s, when they saw a black man with a new car, they would just stop and arrest him. Nothing has changed in 2024. I mean, he said, the dog alerted. Past like, that dog didn't alert on anything. And then he writes a ticket to the pastor for not having drugs. All right. Archie 15. A few friends that play basketball at WSU told me similar things that happened in Moscow. Yeah. And Twin Dragon Tamer, thank you for that. I'm from the area, and this is a huge issue. Let's not forget the U-Haul full of Nazis, that's right, at Pride a year and a half ago in the same city. That is correct. Neon Death 07. Ain't anywhere on this planet that has humans and it's exists without prejudices. It's gonna be tough to find. You have to actively check your biases and prejudicial thoughts, all right? That's the way you overcome them. Hell of a thing. Cargo ship crashes into a Baltimore bridge, causing collapse. Here it is.
Yes, sir. Arnold's starting to arrive over here at the FDA headquarters. R62 is about your location now. He just arrived. You can leave ahead.
All right, put it up full mass. Look at that. In Baltimore, a portion of Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed. It was struck by a large container ship early Tuesday morning, sending several vehicles and people into the frigid water. The bridge is used by 31,000 vehicles every day. The collapse happened after a large cargo vessel apparently hit one of the supports of the bridge around 1:30 a.m., causing the structure to snap and buckle. Multiple vehicles plunged into the river after the impact. It caused the roadway above to break apart completely. The vessel caught fire after hitting the support, so black smoke billowed out of it and also into the sky. So at a press conference on Tuesday morning, Maryland Governor Wes Moore said the operators of the ship issued a mayday call before the crash that took down the bridge, enabling authorities to curb vehicle traffic. During that time, the ship lost power before it rammed into the bridge's support. So they did have some level of warning prior. Baltimore Fire Chief James Wallace said 2 people had been rescued following the collapse. 1 was hospitalized and 1 was not. At least 6 others are still believed to be in the water. All eight were a part of the construction crew that was filling potholes. Baltimore's police commissioner, Richard Worley, told reporters early Tuesday there was, quote, absolute no indication the ship had hit the bridge intentionally. Maryland State Transportation Secretary Paul Weederfield, describing the catastrophic collapse, said, quote, we know there were individuals on the bridge at the time of the collapse working on the bridge, contractors for us, end quote. Very sad, seemingly very random, and there's no evidence of foul play or malicious action or even negligence. It looks like the power somehow was no longer operational, and they did a mayday because now you can hit anything in front of you, and they did. Updates are coming. They're still naturally getting information out to family members, et cetera. Sharon, thoughts here?
Well, it's horrifying. It's gut-wrenching to think about anybody who might have been on the bridge in the vessel and who's left out there dangling somehow and hopefully clinging to life, but the opportunity to be saved is dwindled. But I am struck, Doc, by the way the local officials, the governor, the mayor, the President Biden working together to rally around this. And I'm mindful that if somebody else perhaps were the president, that would not happen.
That's right. It would be chaos, argument, debate, personality-based, et cetera. You're right. Okay, homeless man gets a trespassing charge. Police, they mishandle the whole thing. He ends up losing his legs, okay? Here it is.
Hey, yo. On June 8th, 2023, Roberto Alejandro Sanchez Mayan was approached by police for trespassing.
Do you see this sign right here? You see? Can you read what?
No, I didn't see it.
What's that say?
No, that's us.
Do you know what it's? Okay, so you know that you're not supposed to be here?
Officer Sarah Gaddis first told Sanchez Mayan he may receive a ticket before then deciding to arrest him.
Yeah.
You have a ticket?
No, you're going to take the ride today.
What?
I've decided that you're going to actually go to jail today. I have far too many problems with you.
Yes, that'd be good.
No, absolutely not. We're getting all kinds of complaints. Can't be doing this. Okay?
After a certain amount of any crime, there should be a felony.
Keeps coming in contact.
Yeah.
Doesn't change his ways. What can we do?
You're in jail with all this stuff.
Sanchez Mayan was handcuffed and placed in the back of the police van where there were no seatbelts. During the transport, about 22 minutes into the ride, his body was thrown forward and his head hit a metal partition. The entire ride was not recorded since the surveillance camera was turned on only after Officer Thacker heard a loud crash in the back, according to the lawsuit. After arriving at the county jail, Officer Thacker found Sanchez Mayan unconscious on the floor. He tried unsuccessfully to wake him and then drag Sanchez Mayan out of the van.
Put up the picture, full mass. His legs are gone, okay? You know, there's this thing that officers are known to do. It's called giving you a rough ride. It is a cultural thing. You will not find it listed in a policy. It is a way to punish the individual inside of the van, or as some would call it, the paddy wagon. No seatbelt. It's nothing but steel. And you hit every bump and you make every turn sharp in order to punish the person in the back. It's sick. Yes, but it is very real in the culture. The federal claim that Mr. Sanchez Mayan, a homeless man who had both legs amputated after St. Petersburg, Florida cops handcuffed him, set him in the back of their police van with no seatbelts before driving recklessly. Sanchez Mayan filed a lawsuit against the city of St. Petersburg and Sarah Gladys and also Michael Thacker. Those are the arresting officers, you see. Alleging police brutality and civil rights violations, Sanchez Mayan seeks a jury trial. Thacker is accused of excessive force and intentional battery, while Gaddis is accused of false arrest and malicious prosecution. The suit accuses the city of negligent supervision and training as well. On June 8th, 2023, Sanchez Mayan was arrested on a trespassing charge. Police body cam footage shows the officers approached him and asked what he was doing. Quote, "I fell asleep," he says. Officer Gaddis told Sanchez Mayan she would just issue him a ticket before changing her mind and deciding to just take him into custody. The complaint states Officer Thacker arrived soon after in a police van. He handcuffed Sanchez Mayan and also used a metal belly chain, which hindered the use of his arms. Sanchez Mayan's lawyer told CNN their client had prior arrests for loitering and trespassing. These are crimes of survival. These are crimes of survival that warrant some thoughtful intervention to impact the cause and effect cycle that you see. But they just keep locking them up. Records obtained by WFTS show he had been issued more than a dozen previous citations. In this most recent case, Sanchez Mayan's attorney says his client was wrongfully detained when he was found sleeping in a vacant lot. And I want to say this about the multiple arrests. In the city of Atlanta and other cities, we have a new way to deal with crimes of survival, all right? If a person is trespassing, well, that's because they're trying to sleep somewhere. And if that's the reason, if homelessness is the reason, we would prefer to address the underlying issues that lead to this alleged criminal activity, all right, which is minor compared to real crime happening in major cities, so that we can get you the service and the wraparound support you need. That's a very simple approach to remedy the genesis of the problem. There's more. After placing Sanchez Mayan in the back of the van, the suit says Thacker drove the van, quote, in a reckless manner and at an unsafe rate of speed, end quote, and deliberately slammed on the brakes at a red light. The van's surveillance video shows Sanchez Mayan being thrown off his seat, hitting his head, and that rendered him unconscious. Thacker drove all the way to the jail before stopping the van. I want you to understand this officer is well aware of what he's doing. He knows there's no seat belt. Okay, it's not as if he's not aware that there's a human being in the back of basically a tube. Okay, he knows this, and he's still driving this way. There's more. Quote, they literally pulled him out by his ankles, where his head could be seen bopping on the floor and bopping on the door and bopping on the bumper, and ultimately on the pavement. Sanchez Mayan's attorney, Thomas Scholar, told CNN, the lawsuit states Thacker did not enable the van video at first, but he turned it on after he heard a loud crash in the back. The van camera's technology records 30 seconds before being turned on, he told CNN. Sanchez Mayan was diagnosed with spinal cord injuries after the ride, leaving him paralyzed in all of his limbs, the suit explains. Doctors had to amputate both of his legs above the knee. His sister says he's now staying at a nursing home. His trespassing charge was dismissed because the area where Sanchez Mayan was sleeping did not have a no trespassing sign in the proper place. So they dismissed it, which means the officer is engaged in an unlawful arrest. Chief Anthony Holloway, heads of St. Petersburg PD. The department said in a statement, quote, the St. Petersburg Police Department denies the claims and trusts in the judicial process. The department defers all media inquiries on pending litigation to the city of St. Petersburg City Attorney's Office. Obviously, AI wrote that. Buck stops with you, sir. Be a leader. Remember this soul that was taken? This case bears striking similarities to the 2015 death of Freddie Gray, who died after suffering spinal injuries while what? Riding in the back of a van, police van. 6 officers were charged in connection with his death. None were convicted. And now you have the same cultural dynamic happening in another police department. Mr. Sanchez Mayan could be dead too. He survived it, but the man has no movement. He barely survived it. Sharon, thoughts here?
He might as well be dead. And that's the intent. He's living in a nursing home. Whatever money he does get, they will take it to care for him for the rest of his short life. It'll be a short life. This never stopped after Freddie Gray, because until you charge criminally, and I understand they got off in the Freddie Gray case, and until you civilly take the money out of their pension, Take it out of the police instead of the taxpayers. These two Karen cops saw a brown rodent. That is how they adjudicated Mr. Sanchez, not a human being, as they put on their gloves because he was too filthy to touch. They're disgusting and they should be fired immediately for not following protocol. That's what they should do, as she lectured. Well, you've been told. Where do you expect him to go? He's homeless. He's unhoused. They're idiots.
Yep, and it wasn't even a proper arrest. There was the trespassing sign wasn't there, and that's required, as we know. Okay, all right, we'll bring you updates as they come. A former deacon, okay, a former deacon excommunicated after son's abused by a priest. This is a hell of a story. Sad, for sure. Put it up for a mass. Per the New York Times, Michael Goodry, on the left, a Louisiana Catholic priest who sexually assaulted an altar boy, now sits in prison. And the Diocese of Lafayette has paid a settlement now to the victim's family. Now the diocese bishop has punished the victim's father. The victim's father. Former deacon Scott Payton on the right, with the church's highest censure, excommunication. This is the latest turn in a years-long battle pitting the former deacon and his family against the diocese. In 2019, the diocese said Father Goodry had been, quote, removed from ministry, but it was not clear whether he was defrauded, all right? In March 2021, the Paytons won their settlement for an undisclosed sum in a lawsuit against Father Goodry and the diocese. The Paytons and the diocese have found themselves on opposing sides of a state law that gave childhood sexual abuse victims more time to file lawsuits. There's more. During the criminal case against Father Goodry and the lawsuit, the Paytons became vocal supporters of the state law that allowed childhood sex abuse victims to pursue civil damages regardless of how long ago the offenses occurred. Scott's wife, Letitia Payton, even testified in favor of the law before state lawmakers. The law, which was passed in the state legislature in 2021, but struck down on Friday because by the state's high court, did not apply exclusively to victims of clergy abuse. However, the law prompted new civil suits against Louisiana churches and clergy members who worked for them. In 2018, Payton's son, Oliver, accused the parish priest at St. Peter Catholic Church in Morrow of sexually assaulting him 3 years earlier when he was 16. Scott Payton served that same priest, Father Michael Goodry, as a deacon. While the St. Laundry Parish Sheriff's Office investigated the matter, Father Goodry was suspended at that time from the church and from church duties, and later confessed he did in fact do it. He did commit the assault. In a deposition, Father Goodry said the abuse occurred when Oliver came to the rectory for spiritual counseling. Quote, even though the priest confessed, we were shunned by members of our community, end quote, Mr. Payton said, adding that he and his family felt compelled to move to another church in the diocese. In April 2019, Father Goodry was sentenced to 7 years in prison for violating a juvenile and prohibited from having any contact with the Paytons or anyone under the age of 18. That's according to the court record. Payton, who was an ordained deacon in 2012, that's when he got ordained, resigned from the position on December 4th, 2023. Payton also informed the diocese bishop that his family was leaving the Catholic Church. So Bishop J. Douglas Deschotto responded a day later, wishing Payton well and saying that sacramentally, he would remain a deacon. But on March 13th, the bishop wrote Payton to say that he had been excommunicated. The bishop wrote, quote, I'm aware that your family has suffered a trauma, but the answer does not lie in leaving the most holy Eucharist. Keep his picture up. It's not a damn thing holy, sir, about you or the organization that you are a leader of. Holy represents holistic. It means being complete. You all are broken, corrupt. Mr. Payton said that he would not appeal the decree, which prohibits him from receiving Holy Communion and otherwise participating in the Catholic Church. Quote, "We've endured enough," he said. "What he did to my family with this excommunication proves the point of why I left," he added, referring to the bishop. Quote, "It's an institution that wants to punish those that speak out against it. Many Catholics believe that those who are excommunicated die in a state of sin. He's basically condemned me to go to hell," said Mr. Payton, who with his family has joined an Anglican church about an hour from where they live. As for why they did not resign immediately after the sexual abuse allegations first surfaced, Mr. Payton said he saw that being a deacon as his vocation. The Paytons ultimately decided that to move on and heal, they needed to leave the Catholic Church for good. Put them up. The New York Times noted that in April 2019, the bishop published a list of dozens of clergy who had been employed in the diocese and who had also been credibly accused of sexual abuse of a minor or a vulnerable adult in the past century. One such clergy member was Gilbert Goff, a priest who pleaded guilty in the 1980s to sexual abusing at least 37 children. The church defrocked him and paid more than $10 million to settle multiple victim claims. Payton told the New York Times that to the best of his knowledge, none of the clergy members in the Diocese of Lafayette who were accused of sexual assault have been excommunicated. Isn't that something? So the ones who have been accused of violating children, they don't get an excommunication letter from the bishop. They get put on a list, but according to the bishop, they still get to go to heaven. Okay. The victims, those that dare say something, those that dare challenge the authority of the church, well, they get excommunicated. They, according to the bishop, can't go to heaven. It's insane. Number one, I promise you it don't work like that. Whatever your faith may be. I'm glad that an old ass white man who covers up crimes against children will never make a judge for my eternity or yours. To the family, sorry you went through this and you're still going through it to some degree. And I want to say this to all of the members of the Catholic Church and those who are executives. Please keep in mind, when you say that most Catholic priests are good, that these are rare exceptions, etc., please understand, when we talk about police here, okay, and police misconduct, that misconduct occurs because good police, at least they believe they're good, typically sit back and say nothing. You see, if you believe you're good but you say nothing, you're not as good as you believe you are. And because of that silence, police in general, at times, they will be judged summarily. And if you are silent in the Catholic Church, your organization will be adversely judged as well because you sat back and said nothing. All right, share your thoughts here.
Once again, I agree wholeheartedly. I respect all faiths. This has nothing to do with faith. This has to do with men who are part of an institution which protects and even promotes, in some cases, filth and perversion. Until you show otherwise and protect children, that is exactly who you are. My faith tells me to speak directly to God, and I'm going to keep doing that.
That's right.
If yours has a different level in the hierarchy, no problem. But you might want to check people out loud, even though Mr. Payton had to face the consequences. He's not going to hell.
Right. It's maddening. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
Our system is inherently rigged against the will of the people.
They have 50% of the vote, and in a democracy, they should have 50% of the seats.
But if you live in an insanely gerrymandered district, your vote functionally doesn't matter.
We drew the map in a way that even though we get 50% of the vote, we're gonna get 13 out of the 18 seats.
You don't actually have the ability to translate the will of the voters in your area into actual government policy.
They should not be allowed to gerrymander these districts. We should actually have a democracy.
I've been honest with him. Like, yeah, I was upset with you and I shouldn't have done it. But instead I was like, I'm just trying to protect my engagement ring.
At TYT, our mission is to boldly pursue truth, challenge the establishment, and drive positive change. At a time when corporate capture of our media, our government, and our politics is nearly absolute, everyday working people need a champion to fight for them and to push back against the powerful interests that threaten our democracy itself. At TYT, we're proudly progressive and call out corruption and duplicity wherever we see it, from Republicans, Democrats, or anyone else. And unlike mainstream news media outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to Big Pharma. We only have to answer to our audience, and for nearly 2 decades, we've accomplished that by delivering honest, timely, and insightful perspectives on the day's news without fear or favor or concern for whose toes we might step on or which powerful elites we might offend. And while we're super serious about the news, we also manage to do it in a way that is fun and lighthearted. We can do this together and serve our audience, and yes, have fun doing it.
All right, welcome back. Good to be with you. Let me read a couple of these comments. Greatly appreciate everyone who joins the conversation. Okay. Yeah. Mona P. here just be sent to another diocese, LOL. This type of conduct is endemic within this organization. They have a major cultural issue surrounding this type of misconduct is abhorrent. You're right. And then the silence from priests, from bishops, the cover up. Come on. All right. And yeah. Ulysses. Charlie Kirk will claim the boat pilot was a DEI hire. Just wait. He probably has already done so, actually. Okay, hell of a story. Let's put it up full mass. Jilted lover hires a hitman to kill beloved Philly teacher. This is a sad story. The twists and turns are quite unbelievable. A Pennsylvania jury took 45 minutes to convict, Philadelphia woman and her hitman of first-degree murder in the shooting death of a 35-year-old popular school teacher named Rachel King. Okay, this was at Rachel King was at Grover Cleveland Mastery Charter School. It was last year, as King sat in a Dunkin Donuts drive-thru with her 11-year-old son, that the hitman fatally shot King. The child was not wounded. King's son, Jalen, obviously remains traumatized. He witnessed this and struggling to cope nearly a year later. Family members say Jalen was heartbroken that he never had the chance to hug his mom one last time. Those things matter when crises like this happen. 35-year-old Julie Jean and 34-year-old Azaki Al-Hakim were sentenced to life in prison without parole on March 21st for the premeditated killing of King after a love triangle involving King's fiance turned sour. Prosecutors said following the verdicts, sheriff deputies surrounded the defendants, led them away in cuffs. Let me give you the background. Let's put it up. April 11, 2023. King was taking his son to violin practice when at 7:39 a.m., a hooded gunman approached the driver's side of her Ford Edge SUV and opened fire, shooting directly through the window. At the time of the killing, King was engaged to be married to William Hayes, who had been cheating on her with Jean for 10 months behind her back. Before the romance reached a full year, Hayes suddenly broke it off, telling his jilted lover that he wanted to fully commit to King, the woman he intended to marry. The breakup devastated Jean, according to the report, who felt desperate to keep Hayes with her, prosecutors noted. And as her new reality set in, prosecutors said she became vindictive, leading to the murder plot. District Attorney Kevin Steele said in his closing argument that Al Hakim soon joined the plan as a triggerman. Prosecutors said Jean knew Al Hakim as a cousin of the father of her children and entrusted him to carry out this plot. So she could potentially rekindle her romance with Hayes. The evidence showed how much planning went into this. Text messages retrieved from Jean's phone revealed that she had traveled to Kensington to meet Al Hakim and shared pictures of Rachel King with him. Investigators also found a Google Map screenshot of Al Hakim's phone, showing King's address and hand-drawn instructions on how to access the woman's apartment complex. Jean gave Al Hakim, for this, $500 the day before he purchased an untraceable ghost gun for the killing. And he texted Jean a picture of the gun a few hours later, prosecutors said. Jean also bought a used Mercury Sable, which prosecutors say Al Hakim drove to King's apartment days before the murder to scope out an ideal place to gun her down. The same car was reportedly seen following behind King on the day she was ambushed and killed. But Jean became a suspect. She attempted to conceal her connection to the crime by deleting text messages and call logs from a phone, by erasing news articles about the killing that she had looked up and saved on her browser, prosecutors said. During defense arguments, Jean's attorney, Shaka Johnson, accused prosecutors of conducting or concocting a fake narrative and maintained the evidence did not support the charges against his client, BS. Johnson argued that Hayes' testimony during the trial, where he expressed love for King and described her as his rock, was sincere and designed to portray himself in a positive light. In reality, Johnson said Hayes was involved. He was at least part to blame for both women, as neither were aware of the other. Somehow, though, Jean found out about his infidelity and contacted King to see if she could get to the bottom of Hayes' lies, Johnson told the jury. The defense suggested that Jean's decision to call King was a natural response to being two-timed, indicating that Jean was also unaware of Hayes' double life. This occurred as Jean moved to Linwood Gardens, the apartment complex in Elkins Park, where Hayes resided. Johnson suggested that the prosecution's evidence against Jean was primarily circumstantial and did not directly implicate her, but the jury rejected the argument. Meanwhile, Al Hakim's attorney, Benjamin Cooper, pointed out that surveillance video of King's murder did not positively identify the gunman, nor did other videos of the Mercury Sable leaving the area after King was shot. Cooper argued that none of the evidence linked Al Hakim to the shooting or proved that he was the one who drove the car to and from King's apartment on the morning of the murder. But still, the DA insisted that the evidence pointed to a murder for hire scenario, citing too many coincidences in the case, including GPS records from Al Hakim's cell phone that showed him traveling from West Philadelphia to Cheltenham on April 11th in the morning, and then circling back moments after King was killed. And you got the text messages, you have the congruent pictures of the weapon, etc. So yeah, circumstantial, yes, because you don't have DNA evidence, but circumstantial here, overwhelming. Sharon, hell of a story, sad as it comes. Thoughts?
Yeah, a child left with wanting just one more hug. You know, when you don't reject evil and you slip into the depths of jealousy and insecurity, this can happen. And it's not an excuse except to say that when you focus on somebody else so much, a rival in your own mind, that you must discredit, harm, and in this case, if the district attorney is correct, kill them. It's about not rejecting evil and respecting yourself enough to know, I got to get out of here. I got to move on.
Yeah. And then just think about this, Sharon. She was willing to be with this man if it would have worked out the way she wanted it to. She was willing to be with this man knowing that she orchestrated the murder of his fiance.
And that
All
she
right.
was his number 2.
Right. All right. Sharon, always a pleasure. Have you on the program.
This is mine.
Tell people how they can follow you, check out your great work.
Rebel HQ, of course, proud to be part of that in the Black Network. And I hope you'll support the work. Thank you so much for having me, Doc.
Always a pleasure. Thank you for all you do. Okay. Remember, take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.